Get off my hand!
Tomatoes.
Okay. All right.
You recording?
Yeah, I'm recording. Clap it up. Clap it up.
All right, Wolftick
All right.
Nation. We are
Yeah.
back with another podcast.
I didn't know we were going to be doing a podcast next. I thought we were going to be back in the shop, but apparently we're going to do that tomorrow.
Well, heck, I thought
This might go on after that.
I thought we just filmed a podcast, but we just a bunch of nonsense is what it was.
It turned into nonsense real fast.
We've
I
been
don't know
sitting
if
here
we're
for hours.
No, not hours. 30 minutes.
So what's on the docket today? What are we going to talk about?
Okay, well, that's I think so with Wolftick videos. I think I always say there's like two things you can count on for a popular episode.
Okay.
But-
yeah, let me guess.
Okay, I want you to guess those two things.
Two things that you can count on for a good
The
popular
top
episode.
two things
I know it.
for popular episode for us.
New bike day
Okay, new bike,
and new fork day.
budget, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's our two biggest.
I listen.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time.
Mm-hmm.
So considering that,
Okay.
I said, well, you know what's weird is, I mean, we've talked a little bit about bikes and a little bit about forks, but we haven't dedicated one to forks yet. So I figured, well, let's do a little fork talk.
Okay, a little bit of fork talk.
I even titled it Fork Talk.
All right, you're scaring me.
yeah.
Can I make a list?
Well, you
I
might
know
be
you-
making a list.
I like my lists.
You do like lists, and people
Yeah.
love lists.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make a list when we talk.
Okay.
I mean, if you think what the question's going to be,
I don't know
your
what. Yeah, I don't even know
favorites.
what the question is. So just give me one, and then let me start coming. I mean, is there a question? Or are we just gonna?
Well,
talk
we don't
about
have rules on it, but would you rather have a junk fork to keep prices down, or as good of a fork as possible for the money? Like, so this is something, and this brings up something else too. Okay, but so we were talking about budget bikes the other day, and you were saying for this price range, it better have this and that and whatever, or it better, be an air fork or something. Don't care about rebound or whatever, but it better at least have an air fork. And I said, for that price, and I'm going, no. And I think it came across like I meant at that price, it better be like a killer fork. Like, and my thing is, yeah, once you get up to a certain price, it better be a really good fork.
Yeah.
Or just give me a really crap fork that I'm going to change out and kill the price down on the bike.
big time? Kill it down big time.
Yeah. And then that goes into something else too off that. But first I want you to answer that.
Okay, ask me again.
Okay. So we're going to use $1,000.
Okay, $1,000 is my budget.
$1,000 bike. We're going to buy a bike for $1,000.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the bike can have a killer fork, we're talking like a fork you don't have to worry about changing it out because let's go Judy Gold or Judy Silver, either one. Like, so
Okay.
a good fork that's not the greatest, but it's really good. Like
Tough
it's
forks.
it's
Okay.
going to be on there. You're not
So
going
it's
to
got
take
a
it
Judy
off.
Gold.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, hey, I plan
Judy
on
Gold.
keeping that fork
Yeah.
on there.
Okay, Judy Gold.
Okay.
Okay. And then, of course, it takes away from other stuff, obviously, other components and things. They're
Yeah.
all going to be taken down a notch because of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about $1,000 bike. Okay. Or, but it's be a one buy, but it'd be lesser components, lesser brakes, lesser group set, whatever.
Okay.
Or it has a fork that's a boat anchor. Well, we're talking one of the boat anchors, right? Because they're just putting some on there so you could actually ride it, but they don't intend for you to keep it on there.
The Ardor fork.
Okay, there you go. But it's 1,000, or well, we'll go at least the
something.
Axum.
Okay.
But at the same time, everything else is up a level from where like the brakes are a little better. Maybe they're MT200s or whatever, or they're and then the group set's like a good 10 speed or like I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. Like everything's a little bit better, right?
Yeah. One part of me makes it is easy to make that decision, and another part of me is hard. Do you want both? Do you want the answer of being an influencer and a YouTuber, or just a writer and a guy who works on his bike?
Yeah. I never answer. Look, I'll tell you, answer it from that point of view. If I mean, we'll talk about what we like. Or for the channel, we want crap because we're going to change it out no matter what.
So you're talking.
But I'm talking about if you're a guy that's going to spend $1,000 on a bike that you're handy. Okay, you're handy, but you don't have money to go around. do you want to have to change that fork out pretty quick and have good other stuff on there? Or do you want to have a really good fork and slowly change out the other stuff to match the fork?
Yeah. Well, I would say, I think I don't want to get stuck on the $1,000 bike with the RockShox Gold, because I think people are going to go, oh, well, a bike that much with crappy components, it should have a way better fork than a RockShox Gold. You know what I'm saying? It should have like I don't know, like say a Trace, or it should have say a Domain if it's going to have crappy. You know, so I don't want to focus.
I don't know if Trace is all that much better. We haven't even tested the Judy Gold yet.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's hard to say the price. Like, let's bring down the price a little bit. But regardless, yeah, let's say $800 with a Judy Gold. I think that's more realistic, because people are going to pick on it being $1,000 bike with a Judy Gold and going, well, $1,000 bike, it should have this and this and that. Anyway, I think, in my opinion, I'm going to pay the amount of money for the bike that has the better fork and the lesser components, because I'm handy. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there that I can watch and get their opinions on, or kind of pick their brain a little bit on products. You know, maybe a channel that does product reviews, everything on group sets and tires and all that good stuff. I would rather do that and keep that fork, because there's a lot of riders out there that get so stuck on having to work their way and their budget and parts around a fork. Like, that's a big deal, because you don't have, I'm talking to you, but you understand how many comments we go through and trying to help people that say, hey, I would like this fork. I want this air fork that you got. I want the RockShox Judy Gold. Will it fit on my bike? Well, you're going to have to get another headset for that, okay? We'll say it's not the Gold. We'll say it's something fancier. Now, what kind of head tube do you have? What's your size for your head tube? Because that's a tapered fork, okay? And then they're like, oh, great. Well, it's tapered. It's a 44 to 56. Okay, so now you're going to need a headset. You got the tapered fork. Okay, we're good there. Now, what is the through axle, or is it, what is it? And then they go, oh, well, yeah, it's a boost. So it's like, okay, now you're not only going to have to get a new.
If it's not the Judy Gold, the Judy Gold is not only quicker.
That's
but I get what you're saying.
What I'm getting at is
a through axle and all that. Yeah.
What would be nice is to be able to buy a bike that you can build around the fork and the frame. And I think most people would agree with me, as opposed to building around the fork, because that can run into a lot of issues, especially when it comes to the headset. And I'm not saying there's a bike out there that has a crappy headset and a really nice fork. You might want to change the fork out anyway. It might have open ball bearings and you want sealed set. I don't know. But I would rather worry about the rest of the components. So I know I could save up a little bit for a group set, or brakes, like you were saying, or pedals and a dropper, stuff like that, I think would be better off. Because forks, man, I think a lot of people don't realize just how dirty stuff can get when it comes to a fork. There's so much stuff about it, So it'd be kind of neat to build one.
So you're saying that so let me get this straight. What you're saying is this. You're saying if it's easier to upgrade other stuff as you go than it is a fork, because a fork is a big financial thing right off the bat.
Yeah.
You have to worry about a headset, or you need to worry about a headset.
Yeah.
And then you have to know a tapered fork, and if you have a tapered head tube, or if you're going to do a 44 and you're going to convert it, you got to get the bottom
you're
cup.
Be going with.
You have to worry about if it's a through axle on your front wheel, and all the boost, non-boost. So you're saying there's just too many factors.
Yeah, and a lot of forks these days will only allow you to run either a minimum or a maximum rotor. There's some of them out there that are a little funky now.
Yeah, that's true. And we don't like being told what size rotor we need to run.
No, so it would be nice to have the more of the upgraded fork as opposed to the rest of the bike. Not that the rest of the stuff can get dirty, like I wouldn't think it would happen, but I can see people asking, well, what if the bike has a free wheel as opposed to a free hub? Then it's like, well, now you have to buy a new rear wheel, but I wouldn't think for $800 or $1,000 that a rear would be a free wheel.
Well, as we talked about it, we talked about it an episode or two ago. Yeah. There is some at 7 something, getting close to 8, that do have a free wheel.
Yeah, but you said it yourself. You said at least have a one buy, and there's a lot of different ways around one buys that I didn't realize. You can go ahead and go the route. Say it has a squared bottom bracket. You could take that off and you could put a sealed bottom bracket, and then you could get rid of the sealed bottom bracket and then upgrade to a hollow bottom bracket. So there's a lot of upgrades and different ways around the cheaper way to upgrade a bike, and we've done a lot of those. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I remember kind of going off the here's just
The subject.
off subject. Thank you. But I remember when we bought the Mongoose Malice, I was having such a hard time because I wanted to convert the bike to a one by a smaller chainring and all that, right? But I was having such a hard time finding a crankset that would actually fit the whole shaft. I had no clue. And the last
We
thing I
got
wanted to
bailed
do,
out on that.
we got bailed out by Kim Bexborg. He sent us the dub bottom bracket fat tire. But what I'm getting at was we did one for a viewer's ride, a Malice, and the guy had a one by and it was upgraded. And I couldn't wrap my brain around how in the world did this guy do an upgrade on his one by on his fat tire? Where did you get it, dude? Like what spacers did you go with? And he says, "Oh, all I did was I just went on Amazon and bought Bucklos's crank arms, 2 crank arms for like $15."
Yeah.
So he stuck with the taper, or he stuck with the square taper bottom bracket that came with it, and he just changed out the crank arms and the chainring. That's so smart and so cheap. He probably spent $25 on that to make it look that much cooler.
Yeah, maybe. But real quick on that one, did that have that whole cup and what weird little funky bearing? Like it doesn't have a sealed bearing bottom bracket.
No. It's completely open. It's cheap. But I mean, what I was getting at was there's always questions to be brought up.
Workarounds.
Yeah, but there's always ways to work around things. I mean, we've done a lot of trial and error, but thankfully there's so much little stuff that you can get. And that's why our channel exists.
And I'm grateful for this. Is where I'm grateful for a lot of commenters too, though. There's been a lot of times where we've been in a situation where we were getting into something that we didn't know what we were doing, which is probably 90% of the time.
A lot of time.
And there was people watching going, "Oh, they're about to look, hey, just so you know, you're going to run into this." And that's what some of those people are now, are patrons and stuff. But it's funny because people be like, "Oh, just so you know, I'm going to send you this because you're going to run it. You're going to hit a wall here and this and that." And they're right most of the time. And it's funny because in the beginning, though, it was amazing how much we didn't know that we didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of forks, I don't remember who left the comment. I want to say it was Jamie H4, who's one of our patrons. Mm-hmm. I want to say it was him. It may not have been him, but he comes up. We were working on the Genesis, it was like a 1-inch or something steer tube. So we had found a quill adapter that would allow you to convert the top steer tube to a 28.6 millimeter as opposed to the 1-inch or whatever it was. And
we got to lead up to that. Hang on, you're no, that's not what happened. What happened is somebody cut a fork short.
Yeah. So I cut a ZTZ fork short,
short. I cut it for a bike specific. Yes, that's why we don't do this no more.
Man, I wish we had footage of this. So I cut the ZTZ fork short. You were all upset, and I'm like, "Look, I work right by a welding shop, and these guys can weld anything." And you're like, "Son, it's a steer tube. It's what holds you to the bike. You think you can weld it?" I said, "Yeah." So I took it over to the welding shop. They said it's gonna be $20, and I had the steer tube piece, right? And he says, "Oh yeah, we'll do a good job on it." So I get it back from the shop, and what he ends up doing is he welds a piece of aluminum inside the steer tube, and then butts it all around it. So I'm all thankful. I give him the money. I put it back on the Genesis. I'm taking the bike to the truck. I'm not even on the bike. And while I'm about to load it in the back of the truck, the handlebar breaks off.
Yes.
And I'm like, what in the hell? It was because the steer tube was not aluminum. It was magnesium.
Yeah. And then when you went back to him, he gave you crap for not telling him.
Yeah. Like it was my fault. It's like I'm the welder.
They're the ones that have the damn fabrication.
I'm like, screw this. So I'm trying to figure out a way around this. So we buy that quill adapter. Now that's where it comes in. The quill adapter goes inside of the 28.6 millimeter steer tube. It comes out on top of the head tube, and then it's a 28.6 or a 31.8. So you could set
something.
It's a 28.6, so you can put your clamp on there for your stem. So we get that, and I thought I'm just gonna say it was Jamie. Jamie H4 says, "Hey, after we were riding it around and all that, and I was talking about it being kind of weird in the front end.
He's like, loose and
he's
wonky.
Like, why? He's like, how in the world did you set your compression? Yeah. And I was like, oh, I set it. I tightened the thing up, and I was like talking crap because I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Yeah. And I was like, this guy asked me about if we set the compression. You're like, yeah, well, you're
Was it really
supposed to.
Jamie H4?
I'm gonna say
This
it
is a long
was
time
man.
ago.
A long time ago. It may not have been, but we're just gonna say it was him.
Okay.
And I remember you telling me, yeah, you have to bring everything together, or else that's why it's rattling around.
Yeah, I'm like, how else is it set? Like it's just all there together, but not sucked up together, you know?
There's even commenters like Vexus. Vexus has been with us for a while.
Yeah.
I remember he was one of the first guys to explain to me what a crown race was. I think I remember trying to swap over maybe that exact fork on the GT Aggressor Pro way back in the day. And he was like, man, how did you get your crown race off?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I just did it, And then finally I was honest with him. I was like, what's a crown race? And he explained to me that's the thing that holds the bearings up on the bottom part of the fork. And it's just stuff like that, because I'm not the first one to start researching.
Yeah, no, you're not big on the researching at all. But you're better now.
Yeah, I guess.
But you've learned a lot too.
A lot of it's trial and error, though. Yeah, just over time,
and
learning.
I didn't want to. I think there's a lot of people that watch us that understand me by now and understand what I'm doing. A lot of people just, people are going to have their opinions one way or another. We're kind of polarizing because we make people feel one way or another anyway. But the thing is a lot of times I'll know something and I'll sit back and let you learn and then there's other times where I tell you and then you don't listen anyway. So it ends up being that.
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. And all that's genuine when it happens. But, there's times where I think this is going to make for better viewership if I don't say something. And there's times where I don't know because look, my time in the biking world and sport, I guess, was in the 90s. And a lot of stuff changed since then. Now, I rode bikes since then, obviously, but it wasn't until we got into this channel that I really got into bikes. And when I was into it, like I had a Sun Tour that had 30 millimeters of travel, I think. So, I mean, and it coil fork, 30 millimeters of travel, and it was pretty, everyone's like, dude, that's nice. True. I mean, so that's back like late 80s, early 90s, something like that. So, whatever it was. But anyway, it was on my Diamondback, but so I was aware of certain things, and I had been around. I worked on my bikes, and I did all that stuff. But at the same time, and there's a lot of stuff I know I don't know, but I have a good idea, and I'm able to figure things out pretty good. But I like to watch you work on figuring things out like that.
Yeah, and I mean it makes, like I said, for good content because there's some times where I listen to you, and then I know you like that, and then,
I do.
And then there's sometimes where I listen to you and it doesn't go like you thought or you said it was going to go, and that makes for great content. Then there's times where you tell me to do something and I go against it, wanting to do my own style to see what happens.
And that's usually a disaster.
Yeah. But then you get to tell me I told you so. Yeah. And then if it's something that goes well that I've decided to do on my own, then I get to be like, give you crap, and everybody likes that.
Yeah, and that's like a rarity.
Yeah, everybody likes it.
Yeah.
But no, we've definitely learned a lot from our commenters,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just that community that we started out with, I kind of talk about it at the gym too, is, I guess it's pretty similar. I never really thought about it is, I'm a coach at a gym, I coach adults and kids, and when I'm running classes, in the beginning, I mean, the class started out with, say, 5 people, and anybody, like any channel, can have a bunch of people flow through it. But you're doing something when you can keep a tight-knit community.
Well, when you have a good core.
A good core.
And then it grows. And then sometimes people leave and new ones come in. But when you have that core that's going to be there just about the whole time, or all the time, Yeah,
when you're talking about an adult class, or a kid's class, that you've got a constant amount of the same faces and newer ones, or the YouTube channel, when you've got, I mean, we're talking about some old school people, you know what I'm saying? That are still around. So we're doing something right. And I appreciate that because some people have learned with us. Some people have dropped knowledge on us. And then some people just love watching the calamity,
And some people have learned. We've taught them a few things, or they needed some help, and we advised them or did whatever. And then after a little while of watching us and other channels, they come back and start acting like they need to start telling us a bunch of things, like they know it all now.
Yeah.
We've had that too. So we've had a little bit of everything, but which is all fun though. All of it's fun. But real quick on that. So on the fork thing, there is something I want to bring up when it comes to comments.
Okay, well, let's get to it.
Yeah, well, so I'm getting to it now. So on that subject of forks, though, and that $1,000 cut, the reason I said $1,000 is because we were talking about that before, and you were bringing up forks for whatever, and I was saying, like I said, some people might have thought I meant like it should be a really good fork or whatever. And there are good forks on bikes for that price range. Chris H said, well, they don't exist. You know, or I'm not going to quote him for sure, but he said something like, he's like, what bike has a good fork for $1,000? They're all, you know.
Did you find one?
Oh, there's several, but just for an example, like there's like the Polygon Pine Mountain 1 or whatever. It has a RockShox Recon RL 120 millimeter with rebound and compression.
We've got one. That's a great fork.
It's a wonderful fork.
How much is the bike?
I think it's right at $1,999 or something like that.
Okay.
But so like what I'm saying is there are bikes. I mean, it took me like 5 seconds to find a bike. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch. I'm not going to get a list of them. Here's a bike right here. So obviously I found that within seconds. I know that there's a lot more out there.
Yeah.
But I knew that there was some bikes that had it's probably on sale or something or whatever, but they're always on sale.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't know what bike brand it is, but they, for a long time they were doing Suntour Pixins that they were coming out with, which is a good fork, you know.
Well,
it's not the best.
But I mean, but that RockShox Recon or Suntour Pixin, like you're not looking to change that in 2 seconds.
No,
if
that's
you're
like a
average rider.
$249 fork.
I mean, if you're see, and that's what people get me. People go like, oh, well, you know, yeah, because you're basic or you're a newbie or whatever, then that's why you wouldn't change it out. Well, if you are, you're not buying if you're all this pro enduro guy or something, you ain't buying that bike anyway.
No.
You ain't buying $1,000 bike. So you're buying $1,000 frame probably. You know, but it's like, so don't give me that anyway. But anyway, I just brought that up not to prove him wrong or anything, but I think he was unaware that there are bikes out there that have forks.
See, like that's a perfect example for what I said. So then that would be great. That bike with that fork on there, or that bike with a crappy fork. And
I should have wrote down what else come on that bike.
Yeah, you should have.
But I just wanted to find a bike that had that. You know,
I think what we should do, I think would make another good episode is you give me 3 bikes. Which one do I choose?
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you like an $800 limit. And then you give me basically the fork, the group set, wheel set.
Well, how about if I give you an $800 limit and then give you a list of bikes that are $800 or less?
Yeah, I think that.
And then you can come up with what you think.
Yeah, but Wolftick Nation, please leave in the comments. I would like to know, do you agree with me on that was a good question. You know, would you rather a very good fork on a $1,000 bike, say which $8,800 bike, really good fork with crappy components? Or not all
crappy,
that great,
yeah.
You know, or would you rather like the bee's knees of group sets and wheel set and chain and crank arms, and
just marginally better?
Yeah, and the boat anchor fork. I think I chose it right. You guys know my decision.
Yours is the marginally better components.
Yeah, marginally better components with a really good fork.
No, you went to really good fork. You went to average components, really good fork.
Average components, really good fork.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, no, I think that would be good. I think most people agree with me on that. But all right, guys, well, I appreciate you watching Wolftick Videos podcast as always. Man, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button.
Watching.
Watch and listen to the podcast. You guys are at home cooking. I appreciate it. Man, if you guys are wanting to
working,
become part
driving
of that,
in the car.
Become part of that Wolftick Nation, hit that subscribe button. You want to support the channel, check out Buy Us a Cup of Coffee, or you can even become a patron, all right? Join the Cool Kids Club over there.
Yeah, well, if they can handle it, it's a little rough.
If you can handle it.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
Yep, but guys, we will see you on the next episode.
Yeah.